this is.
Since when were they red?
Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
In Captain America, Brave New World, 2025, the mantle of Captain America returns to the big screen in a way that feels both familiar and revolutionary. Blending emotional legacy with modern political tension, Sam Wilson's transformation from the Falcon into the new symbol of the United States has been long anticipated since the ending of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. His return in this film marks not just another superhero comeback, but the rebirth of a cultural idea: what it means to be Captain America in a divided and rapidly changing world. The movie takes the essence of the old patriotic hero and filters it through the complexities of today's reality, where trust, power, and truth are constantly questioned. Sam doesn't step into the shoes of Steve Rogers. Instead, he forges his own path, reminding everyone that the shield represents ideals, not individuals. The film opens with an atmosphere thick with unease. The world post-blip remains unstable. Governments are struggling to find common ground. Alliances are fragile, and the people's faith in heroes is dwindling. In this fragile landscape, Sam Wilson steps forward, carrying the weight of expectations, not only as a hero but as a symbol that must bridge the moral cracks in society. His first appearance is more than a simple introduction. It's a statement of presence. The camera lingers on his new suit, bold, functional, and slightly more militarized, reflecting both his identity as a soldier and his acceptance of responsibility. The opening action sequence is a breathtaking aerial chase through South American airspace, showcasing Sam's mastery of flight and combat. But beyond the adrenaline, the scene carries deeper symbolism. It visually represents the struggle to rise above chaos while staying true to one's moral compass. Anthony Mackie's portrayal of Sam Wilson shines through every frame. Unlike Steve Rogers, whose confidence came from his unshakable moral certainty, Sam's strength emerges from empathy and doubt. He constantly questions the meaning of heroism in a world tainted by greed and fear. The movie smartly contrasts his approach to leadership, one built on listening and compassion rather than sheer authority. This human vulnerability is what makes his Captain America believable. He isn't just a soldier in a suit. He's a man carrying the emotional baggage of loss, responsibility, and hope. In one of the film's early scenes, Sam visits a veterans community center, talking to soldiers who feel abandoned by the system they once served. The dialogue subtly mirrors his own inner conflict, how to serve a nation that doesn't always live up to its ideals. Director Julius Ona crafts a tone that feels both grounded and politically charged. The cinematography leans heavily on natural lighting, symbolizing transparency, a thematic choice reflecting Sam's mission to bring honesty back to heroism. Every frame feels intentional, echoing the divided nature of modern America. The film doesn't shy away from tough questions. Can a hero truly represent a country when that country itself is broken? Can a black man wearing the stars and stripes be accepted as the embodiment of the nation's values? These questions aren't directly preached but are embedded within the story's emotional fabric. Through quiet moments, Sam's hesitation before speeches, his silence in meetings filled with bureaucrats, the film communicates volumes about identity and belonging. One of the most powerful aspects of Sam's return is the way it redefines the idea of the super soldier. He has no serum, no enhanced abilities. His strength lies in his humanity. The film repeatedly emphasizes that the shield itself is not what makes Captain America powerful. It's the conviction of the person behind it. There's a key scene midway through the first act where Sam faces a group of international delegates arguing over the misuse of power by superhumans. The tension in the room is palpable as he declares, "The shield doesn't choose the hands that hold it. The world does." It's a line that becomes the emotional anchor of the movie. Simple, but resonant, capturing his philosophy that leadership must come from service, not dominance. The emotional weight of the film increases as we see the public's divided reaction to his new role. Some view him as an imposter trying to replace Steve Rogers. Others see him as a necessary evolution. The media within the film becomes a narrative tool. Talk shows, social media feeds, and political pundits debate his legitimacy. This adds a meta layer, reflecting real-world conversations about representation and legacy. But instead of turning into a lecture, the film uses these tensions to fuel Sam's growth. Every criticism, every doubt becomes a test of resilience. By facing public skepticism head-on, Sam earns his place as Captain America not through force, but through perseverance. In parallel, the re-emergence of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford, as the U.S. President introduces another dimension to the story. Ross represents the institutional authority of America, pragmatic, often ruthless, and focused on global dominance. His interactions with Sam are charged with ideological tension. Ross wants a controlled, government-backed Captain America, while Sam believes in independence and moral responsibility. Their conversations are written with sharp political undercurrents, exposing the fragile balance between patriotism and propaganda. These exchanges form the backbone of the narrative, a constant tug-of-war between principle and policy. The film's tone constantly oscillates between hope and cynicism. While Sam strives to unite people, the world around him is steeped in corruption and manipulation. Yet, through it all, the movie maintains a sense of optimism. This optimism isn't naive. It's born out of struggle. Each of Sam's victories feels earned because he has to confront not only villains on the battlefield, but also internal doubts and systemic injustices. The title, Brave New World, encapsulates this perfectly. It's about the courage to step into an uncertain future with integrity intact. The movie presents Sam as the bridge between past and future, reminding the audience that the true essence of Captain America isn't physical might, but moral clarity. The film's pacing contributes to the weight of his return. Instead of rushing through exposition, it takes time to explore Sam's mindset. We see flashbacks of his days with Steve Rogers, snippets of their conversations about purpose and leadership. One emotional moment stands out. A dream sequence where Sam visualizes Steve handing him the shield again. But this time, Steve's face fades away, leaving Sam standing alone in front of a crowd. The message is clear. It's time for him to define his own legacy. This introspective layer transforms the superhero narrative into a story of personal rebirth. Musically, composer Henry Jackman delivers a powerful score that blends the classic Captain America theme with new African-American rhythmic influences, subtly nodding to Sam's heritage. The soundtrack mirrors his journey. The old meets the new. During key battle scenes, the brass instruments soar with patriotic energy, but quieter moments are filled with soft percussion and strings, symbolizing the heartbeat of the man beneath the suit. This fusion creates a sonic identity unique to Sam's version of Captain America, one rooted in history but reaching for modern resonance. One of the film's most moving subplots involves Joaquin Torres, Danny Ramirez, who acts as Sam's tech support and emotional anchor. Their friendship symbolizes the importance of teamwork and trust in leadership. Torres' presence also hints at the future of the Falcon mantle, showing how the legacy continues beyond one individual. Together, they embody a new generation of heroes, not perfect, not invincible, but willing to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. The visual storytelling reinforces the emotional depth. The shield, for instance, is used symbolically throughout the movie. In battle scenes, it's a weapon of defense. In quieter scenes, it's a reflection of burden. The camera often frames Sam's reflection in the shield, reminding viewers of the introspection behind the heroism. There's a particularly beautiful shot after a battle, where the shield lies cracked in the dirt as Sam kneels beside it, breathing heavily. Instead of picking it up immediately, he wipes away the dust and looks into it, his own reflection fractured by the scratches. The imagery perfectly encapsulates his inner conflict and a man trying to see himself clearly in a world that refuses to give him a clean mirror. The writing pays tribute to the past. While boldly stepping into new thematic territory, the movie doesn't erase Steve Rogers' influence. Instead, it honors it by showing that legacy isn't about imitation. Steve's presence looms over the story like a shadow, respected, admired, but never copied. Through Sam, the film sends a universal message. Every generation must redefine heroism for its time. The courage to stand for justice changes shape with history, and it's this adaptability that keeps the spirit of Captain America alive. As the film progresses, the scale of the conflict expands from personal to global. Political conspiracies, military interventions, and secret agendas all collide, forcing Sam to make impossible choices. But at the core of every decision lies his moral compass, one rooted in empathy and fairness. He isn't afraid to challenge authority even when it isolates him. In one scene, Ross demands he follow direct orders for a covert operation, and Sam refuses, saying, "I serve people, not politics." That line defines his version of Captain America. It's not defiance and it's conviction. It's not defiance and it's conviction. Sam Wilson's transformation from the Falcon to Captain America stands as one of the most compelling arcs in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not just because of the physical or narrative evolution, but because of the emotional and ideological depth it represents. Captain America, Brave New World 2025 captures this journey with nuance, respect, and raw honesty. It's not a story about replacing a legend. It's a story about redefining what heroism means when the world has lost its way. Sam's evolution is not instantaneous. It's forged through conflict, doubt, loss, and an unwavering belief in doing what's right, even when it costs him everything. At the start of the film, Sam still carries the emotional residue of his past, the struggles of being Falcon, the shadow of Steve Rogers, and the burden of holding the shield that once symbolized perfection. The movie wastes no time showing that this transition isn't about power or glory. Instead, it's about the internal war between acceptance and rejection, both from the world and from himself. When Sam first donned the Captain America suit at the end of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the world's response was mixed. Some saw hope, others saw controversy. In Brave New World, that tension still lingers. The narrative picks up with Sam trying to earn respect not as the next Steve Rogers, but as the first Sam Wilson to ever wear the stars and stripes. His early scenes are grounded in realism. We see him participating in humanitarian operations, disaster relief missions, and political meetings rather than traditional battles. These moments reveal the kind of leader Sam wants to be, one who listens before he acts. Yet these same moments expose him to the harsh truth of leadership, that idealism doesn't always survive in a world governed by agendas. The movie uses this contrast to show how difficult it is to balance morality with responsibility. Sam's heroism is tested not through villains but through decisions that have no right answer. That's what makes his evolution compelling. It's rooted in human struggle, not superhuman perfection. Throughout his journey, Sam carries Steve's shield like both a weapon and a weight. The film treats the shield almost as a character, reflective, scarred, and symbolic. In a quiet early scene, Sam places the shield on a stand in his home, staring at it in silence. The room is dimly lit, filled with mementos of his time as Falcon, damaged wings, old photos, medals. The shot composition is deliberate. The shield stands apart from his past as if daring him to step forward. He touches its surface gently, almost with hesitation, and whispers to himself, "What would you do, Steve?" It's a simple line, but it encapsulates his entire dilemma. How do you honor a legacy without being trapped by it? As the film progresses, we're taken through flashbacks and emotional parallels that reveal the foundation of Sam's character. We see glimpses of his days as a pararescue airman, his first missions as Falcon, and his time alongside Steve during Civil War and Endgame. Each memory is connected by a common thread: Sam's instinct to protect people, not just fight enemies. He was never driven by vengeance or ambition. His motivation has always been empathy. That's what makes him a natural successor to Steve Rogers, even if he never wanted the title. But empathy, as the film shows, can also be a weakness in a world driven by power. Sam's compassion often clashes with political realities, putting him in constant conflict with authority. President Thaddeus Ross plays a crucial role in highlighting this tension. Ross represents the traditional definition of strength: dominance, control, and order. To him, a Captain America should be a soldier who follows commands, not a man who questions them. Their dynamic is fascinating to watch. In one heated exchange, Ross tells him, "The world doesn't need a philosopher with wings. It needs a weapon." Sam's response, calm but firm, becomes one of the defining lines of the movie. Weapons can't build peace. People can. That line captures his entire philosophy. The belief that heroism isn't about destruction. It's about connection. The film also delves deep into the physical and emotional challenges of taking on this new role. The Falcon's wings represented freedom and agility, a reflection of Sam's independent nature. But as Captain America, he must learn to be both a leader and a symbol, which often restricts his individuality. This internal conflict is beautifully visualized during an intense training montage. Sam practices with the shield in an abandoned hangar, combining aerial maneuvers with ground combat. The camera captures every missed throw, every frustrated breath, every fall. It's not a flashy superhero sequence, it's raw, grounded, and human. Each failed attempt is symbolic of his struggle to synchronize his identity as Falcon with his duty as Captain America. The scene concludes with him finally mastering a move, flipping mid-air and catching the shield mid-flight. A visual metaphor for his acceptance of both identities. The narrative also highlights how others perceive his transformation. Some old allies like Joaquin Torres fully support him, seeing in Sam the balance between heart and strategy. Others, particularly within government circles, remain skeptical. Even the global community questions whether he can represent the ideals of America when those ideals themselves have become blurred. The film uses these reactions to explore themes of race, representation, and patriotism, without turning them into speeches. Instead, the emotions are carried through subtle gestures and quiet dialogue. When Sam attends a press conference in Washington, one reporter bluntly asks, "Do you really believe the world will follow another Captain America?" Sam pauses, looks around at the cameras, and replies, "They don't need to follow me. They just need to believe in something again." The silence that follows speaks louder than any applause. A major turning point in Sam's journey comes during a mission in Eastern Europe, where he's forced to choose between saving civilians trapped in a collapsing building or capturing a high-value target. His decision to save lives instead of securing political objectives leads to media backlash and government criticism. This event becomes the catalyst for his full transformation. In one of the film's most emotionally charged scenes, Sam sits alone on a rooftop at night, bruised and exhausted, watching the city lights below. His voiceover reflects his internal struggle. "Every time I try to do the right thing, someone says it's not enough." Maybe being Captain America isn't about being enough. Maybe it's just about showing up when it matters. It's this realization that leadership isn't about perfection but perseverance that defines his identity. The emotional core of Sam's evolution also lies in his relationship with Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten super soldier introduced in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Isaiah's presence in this film is limited but deeply impactful. In a poignant scene, Sam visits him again for advice. Isaiah warns him, "They'll never see you the way they saw him." Sam responds, "Then I'll make them see me the way they need to." The exchange is quiet but powerful, symbolizing the generational shift in ideals. It's a reminder that progress often comes not from replacing the past but from confronting it. Visually, the film reinforces this transformation through its color palette and symbolism. When Sam is Falcon, his world is filled with cool tones, blues and grays, representing detachment and solitude. As he grows into Captain America, the palette warms with reds and golds, symbolizing courage and unity. Costume designer Judiana Makovsky subtly incorporates elements of both personas into his new suit, the wings of the Falcon merged with the stars and stripes of Captain America. It's a perfect visual representation of his evolution. He doesn't abandon his past. He builds upon it. The action choreography mirrors this theme as well. Sam's combat style blends agility with power, reflecting his dual identity. He doesn't fight like Steve Rogers, grounded in brute force, but with speed, creativity, and strategy. During one standout battle sequence in the second act, Sam uses both the shield and his wings in tandem, deflecting bullets mid-flight and using gusts of wind to disable enemies. It's breathtaking to watch, but beyond spectacle, it's symbolic, showing how he's made the Captain America mantle his own. The fight concludes with him standing atop a burning structure, wings spread, shield raised, a visual of rebirth, a man fully embracing who he is. Sam's growth also affects those around him. His leadership inspires people to question authority and think independently. Joaquin Torres grows more confident, emerging as a capable ally and potential future Falcon. Even political figures who once doubted him begin to respect his conviction. But more than external validation, the most powerful change occurs within Sam himself. By the third act, he no longer measures himself against Steve Rogers or the expectations of others. He realizes that being Captain America isn't about representing perfection. It's about representing people. Ordinary, flawed, hopeful people. One of the film's emotional highlights comes in a scene where Sam speaks to a group of children in a community center. They ask him what it feels like to be Captain America. He smiles, kneels down, and says, "It feels like being scared every day but choosing to stand anyway." That moment distills the essence of his journey, courage rooted not in strength, but in vulnerability. The scene ends with a little boy saluting him, and for the first time Sam doesn't look unsure. He smiles, stands tall, and salutes back. He smiles, stands tall, and salutes back. The story of Captain America, Brave New World 2025 unfolds in a tense and politically unstable Marvel universe, where the line between heroism and government control is becoming increasingly blurred. The film begins with Sam Wilson, now officially recognized as Captain America, struggling to adapt to his new role as both a global symbol of hope and a leader caught in a complex web of international politics. Unlike Steve Rogers, whose battles were often fought on moral clarity, Sam's mission is defined by gray areas, diplomacy, corruption, and hidden agendas shaping the world behind the scenes. The opening scenes immediately establish this tone, showing a fractured society still recovering from the chaos of the blip and the fallout of the secret invasion. Nations have grown paranoid, alliances are breaking apart, and the world's superpower balance is shifting. Sam finds himself drawn into this global crisis when a new extremist organization, calling itself the Sovereigns, begins targeting high-ranking political figures across different nations. They believe humanity should reject superheroes and super-soldier experiments, claiming they are tools of oppression. What makes this threat unique is its ideological strength. The Sovereigns are not just villains. They represent a movement driven by fear and resentment against the world's reliance on powered individuals. As attacks escalate, Sam is called to lead an international peace summit meant to restore trust among nations. However, behind the scenes, darker forces are manipulating the event for their own agenda. President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, portrayed by Harrison Ford, becomes a key player in this narrative. Now holding the highest office in the United States, Ross aims to reassert American dominance and bring the Avengers Initiative under full governmental control. He views Sam not as a symbol of independence but as a potential weapon for political gain. The tension between Sam's moral integrity and Ross's militaristic vision fuels much of the film's drama. While Ross publicly supports Sam, his secret operations reveal experiments to create a new generation of super soldiers, a direct echo of past mistakes that once led to chaos. The heart of the story lies in Sam's moral struggle. He doesn't possess superhuman strength like Steve Rogers, and that difference is deliberate. The movie explores how true heroism doesn't come from physical power, but from conviction, empathy, and leadership. Throughout the plot, Sam faces countless moments where he must choose between doing what is politically safe and doing what is morally right. This philosophical conflict adds immense depth to his character, elevating him from a sidekick in earlier films to a full-fledged leader in his own right. The supporting cast further enriches the plot. Joaquin Torres, Danny Ramirez, who now takes up the mantle of the new Falcon, serves as Sam's trusted ally. His youthful energy and idealism contrast sharply with Sam's cautious diplomacy. Meanwhile, the return of characters like Isaiah Bradley brings emotional weight to the narrative. Isaiah's presence reminds Sam, and the audience, of the painful legacy of racial injustice tied to the super soldier program. Their interactions become some of the most profound scenes in the movie, exploring what it means for a black man to carry the stars and stripes in a divided world. The pacing of the film is both politically charged and action-driven. Each act builds upon the idea that the world is teetering toward collapse. When the peace summit in Geneva is attacked by a coordinated strike, chaos erupts globally. Sam and Torres barely manage to save key diplomats, but the aftermath reveals that the attack was designed to frame Captain America himself. Suddenly, the symbol of hope becomes a target of suspicion. Governments begin to turn on him. Media headlines question his loyalty, and the very nation he protects brands him a traitor. This turning point forces Sam into exile, echoing themes from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, but with a modern twist, and instead of running from truth, he decides to expose it. As Sam investigates the conspiracy, he uncovers a shocking revelation. Elements within Ross's own administration were behind the attack, aiming to justify the activation of a global defense protocol known as Project Red Horizon. This secret initiative intends to militarize superheroes under strict government oversight, effectively stripping them of free will. The reveal shakes Sam to his core. He realizes that the real war is not against terrorists or foreign enemies, but against the corruption festering within power itself. The second half of the movie becomes a thrilling mix of espionage, emotional drama, and moral conflict. Sam joins forces with Sharon Carter, who operates from the shadows as an informant, and together they race against time to stop Red Horizon from launching. The stakes are higher than ever. If Ross succeeds, the world will fall under authoritarian control masked as security. The film's climax takes place in Washington, D.C., where Sam confronts Ross in an explosive showdown. Amid fierce aerial combat and high-tech warfare, Sam delivers a powerful speech broadcast live across the world, a message about unity, accountability, and freedom. It's not just a battle of fists, but a battle for ideology. In the end, Sam triumphs not by defeating his enemies physically, but by exposing the truth to the public. Ross is forced to resign, and the sovereigns lose their support after their lies are uncovered. The world begins to heal slowly but surely, realizing that leadership requires transparency, not domination. The movie closes on a hopeful yet uncertain note, Sam standing before a crowd holding the shield, not as a weapon but as a promise. The final shot mirrors Steve Rogers' iconic pose but redefines it for a new generation. This is Captain America reborn, not as a soldier of the past but as a symbol of the future. The plot of Captain America. Brave. New World is therefore more than just another superhero story. It's a reflection of our real-world political anxieties, societal divisions, and the constant struggle between power and integrity. It paints a world on the brink of chaos but offers hope through courage, honesty, and leadership. By the time the credits roll, the audience understands that being Captain America isn't about the shield, the uniform, or even the name. It's about standing up for what's right, even when the world stands against you. President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross stands as one of the most fascinating and complex characters in Captain America, Brave New World, 2025. Played by the legendary Harrison Ford, Ross's character serves as both a symbol of political authority and a warning about the dangers of control disguised as patriotism. His presence in the movie represents the collision between idealism and realism, between the hopeful morality of heroes and the ruthless pragmatism of politics. From the very first moment he appears on screen, Ross dominates every frame, not as a cartoonish villain, but as a man burdened by power, responsibility, and his own haunted past. The film wastes no time reminding audiences of Ross's history. Once a general obsessed with controlling superhuman power, he was the architect behind the failed super soldier programs and the relentless pursuit of Bruce Banner, which eventually led to the creation of the Hulk. Years later, as President of the United States, Ross has not abandoned his belief that power must be regulated, but his methods have evolved. They've become more subtle, more political, and far more dangerous. He believes that the world cannot afford loose cannons like the Avengers. In his mind, unchecked heroes cause chaos rather than peace. This ideology becomes the foundation of his presidency and the central conflict of the movie. Ross's relationship with Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, is the emotional and philosophical backbone of Brave New World. To Ross, Sam represents both a potential ally and a liability. On one hand, Ross sees the advantage of having Captain America, a beloved global figure, on his side to promote national unity. On the other hand, Sam's independence and refusal to follow political orders make him a constant threat. Their first meeting sets the tone. Ross invites Sam to the White House under the guise of discussing peace efforts, but his words are layered with manipulation. He praises Sam's heroism, while subtly reminding him that his power exists because the government allows it. This underlying tension between freedom and control echoes throughout the entire film. Ross's leadership style contrasts sharply with the principles that Steve Rogers once embodied. While Steve was guided by moral conviction, Ross is guided by fear. Fear of losing control, fear of another catastrophic event like the blip, and fear that humanity cannot be trusted with power unless it is strictly monitored. This paranoia drives him to develop Project Red Horizon, a covert program aimed at creating government-regulated super soldiers and a surveillance network capable of tracking every enhanced individual on Earth. What makes Ross terrifying isn't just his ambition, it's his ability to justify every unethical decision as necessary for the greater good. Throughout the film, Ross's actions blur the line between patriotism and authoritarianism. In one scene, he delivers a powerful speech to Congress arguing that national security must come before personal freedom. The camera captures him from a low angle, symbolizing his authority and the suffocating weight of his power. Yet beneath his commanding presence lies a deep insecurity, the realization that his obsession with control has alienated him from humanity. He's not a monster in the traditional sense. He's a man who has convinced himself that tyranny is a form of protection. Harrison Ford's portrayal adds immense gravitas to the role. His voice carries the authority of a seasoned leader, but his eyes reveal exhaustion, the look of a man who has seen too much chaos and believes only iron-fisted order can restore balance. Ford's performance grounds Ross in realism, making him more than a political caricature. When he interacts with Sam Wilson, there's genuine respect mixed with disappointment. He sees in Sam the same idealism that once defined Steve Rogers, but he believes that idealism no longer works in a fractured world. Their ideological clash forms the heart of the movie. Sam fights for freedom and unity, while Ross fights for order and control. Both want peace, but their definitions of peace are entirely different. Midway through the film, Ross's true intentions begin to surface. It's revealed that he has secretly reactivated the remnants of the Abomination program and other classified military experiments to strengthen his private army. His administration has been quietly funding the Sovereigns, the anti-superhero extremist group, using them as a scapegoat to justify his security policies. When this conspiracy starts to unravel, it exposes Ross's moral decay, his willingness to manipulate global fear to tighten his grip on power. Yet the brilliance of his character lies in how rational he makes his actions appear. To many within the film's universe, Ross seems like a hero protecting humanity from chaos. That's what makes him so dangerous. The film's writing smartly portrays Ross as a reflection of modern political realities. He represents the age-old question, how much freedom should be sacrificed for safety? In today's world, where governments often trade privacy for security, Ross's ideology hits uncomfortably close to home. He's not simply a villain. He's a commentary on the real-world leaders who believe control is synonymous with protection. This layer of political realism gives Brave New World its thematic weight, turning what could have been a typical superhero story into a profound moral and ethical study. In one of the film's most powerful moments, Ross confronts Sam in the Oval Office after the Geneva Summit disaster. He accuses Sam of disloyalty and claims that America needs strength, not sympathy. Sam, calm but firm, responds, "Strength without compassion is just fear wearing armor." This exchange encapsulates the entire philosophical divide between them. It's not a battle between good and evil, but between two worldviews, one rooted in hope, the other in control. Ross's inability to understand that compassion is a form of strength ultimately leads to his downfall. As the story progresses, Ross becomes increasingly paranoid. His belief that he alone can protect humanity drives him to take desperate measures. When Project Red Horizon is finally launched, he authorizes the use of drone-operated super soldiers to enforce global order. This act marks the climax of his moral collapse. What began as a mission to protect the world turns into an attempt to dominate it. Sam's rebellion against Ross isn't just about stopping a political tyrant. It's about saving the soul of a nation that's forgotten what freedom truly means. The final confrontation between Ross and Sam is not just physical but ideological. In a tense showdown at the Capitol, Ross tries to reason with Sam, insisting that his system will prevent future disasters. Sam refuses, declaring that trust and unity cannot be built through fear. Their clash symbolizes the eternal struggle between liberty and authority, between democracy and dictatorship. In a poetic twist, Ross is defeated not by force but by exposure. Sam broadcasts his secret operations to the world, forcing the truth into the light. By the end of the film, Ross's presidency crumbles under the weight of his own lies. The media turns against him, his allies abandon him, and the public demands accountability. The once powerful thunderbolt is reduced to a man alone, standing in the ruins of his own creation. Yet even in his defeat, there's a tragic dignity to Ross. He looks at Sam and says, "You think you've won? But the world still needs men like me." Sam replies, "No, Mr. President. The world needs men who believe in people, not power." It's a haunting exchange that perfectly closes their arc. One man representing the past's obsession with control, the other embodying the future's hope for freedom. Ross's role in Captain America, Brave New World, transcends the boundaries of a typical antagonist. He is both a mirror and a warning, a reflection of humanity's constant temptation to trade liberty for safety. His story challenges viewers to question authority, to examine the cost of security, and to recognize the thin line between leadership and domination. Through Ross, the film delivers a message that resonates far beyond the Marvel universe. When fear dictates power, freedom becomes the first casualty. The shadow of Steve Rogers looms large over Captain America, Brave New World, 2025. Not as a haunting presence, but as a guiding legacy that shapes every choice Sam Wilson makes. Even though Steve no longer walks among the Avengers, his spirit defines the moral core of the film. His ideals, his sacrifices, and his unwavering sense of justice have become the invisible backbone of the new Captain America's journey. The movie doesn't rely on flashbacks or cheap nostalgia to keep Steve alive. Instead, it honors his influence through symbolism, dialogue, and emotional resonance. This is not the story of replacing Steve Rogers. It's the story of continuing his mission in a world that has changed beyond recognition. From the opening moments, Sam's connection to Steve's legacy is clear. The shield itself, that iconic symbol of hope, becomes a recurring metaphor. Every time Sam lifts it, the camera lingers for a moment longer than usual, emphasizing its weight. It's not just metal. It's history. Steve carried it through wars, revolutions, and alien invasions. Now Sam carries it through political deceit, social division, and moral ambiguity. The film's early scenes capture this emotional contrast beautifully. While Steve fought enemies you could punch, Sam must fight ideas you can't see: mistrust, nationalism, and fear. It's a different kind of battlefield, and the legacy of Steve Rogers guides Sam through it like a silent compass. Throughout the movie, Sam struggles to define what being Captain America truly means in the modern world. The people around him constantly compare him to Steve, sometimes admiringly, sometimes doubtfully. Even President Ross, in one of their early meetings, says, "Steve Rogers was a soldier. You're a diplomat. The world needs strength, not speeches." This line encapsulates the world's misunderstanding of Steve's real strength. His greatness didn't come from his muscles or his super soldier serum. It came from his moral clarity. Sam understands this, and his mission becomes to remind the world that Captain America's true legacy lies not in dominance, but in decency. The film subtly references Steve's influence in nearly every act. Sam's decision-making reflects lessons learned from Steve: patience in chaos, faith in humanity, and the courage to stand alone if necessary. One poignant scene shows Sam visiting the Smithsonian exhibit dedicated to Captain America, which now includes both Steve and himself. As he walks through the displays, the camera pans across relics from Steve's life: his original shield, his war uniform, newspaper clippings, and photos of the Avengers. Sam stops before a massive mural depicting Steve leaping forward with the shield in hand, a symbol of unstoppable hope. The background score softens, and Sam quietly whispers, "I'll do my best, Steve." It's a small line, but it carries immense emotional weight. A man promising not to imitate his predecessor, but to honor him by staying true to his own path. Steve's legacy also plays a role in shaping how others view Sam. Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, often mentions Steve's stories as motivation. He tells Sam that Steve didn't inspire people because he was perfect. He inspired them because he believed they could be better. This idea becomes the heart of Sam's leadership style. While Steve led by example, Sam leads through empowerment, reminding his team that the shield belongs to everyone who dares to stand up for what's right. This theme of collective heroism gives the film a contemporary resonance, reflecting a world where leadership is shared rather than imposed. Another powerful reflection of Steve's legacy comes through Isaiah Bradley's presence. Isaiah's character embodies the pain and hypocrisy buried beneath America's heroic image. He reminds Sam that the same system that celebrated Steve once imprisoned men like him for trying to serve their country. This contrast forces Sam and the audience to confront the uncomfortable truth that Steve's era of idealism existed in a simpler moral landscape. The new world is harsher, messier, and divided along lines of race, politics, and power. Yet Isaiah's perspective doesn't diminish Steve's legacy. It deepens it. It shows that true heroism means acknowledging past flaws while striving to build a better future. Steve may have represented America's ideals. Sam represents its reality. The emotional center of the movie revolves around Sam's internal dialogue with Steve's memory. There are moments when Sam seems to talk to Steve, not literally but in spirit. In one scene, after a failed mission that costs innocent lives, Sam sits alone holding the shield, questioning his worth. The camera circles him slowly as he mutters, "What would you have done?" The silence that follows feels like Steve's unseen answer, a reminder that doubt is part of leadership. Sam then stands, wipes the blood from the shield, and says, "No, I'll do what I can." This quiet resilience becomes the modern translation of Steve's famous, "I can do this all day." It's not about superhuman endurance anymore. It's about moral endurance. Throughout Brave New World, Steve's legacy is not portrayed as unreachable perfection but as a challenge, a torch passed to those willing to carry it with integrity. Sam doesn't wear the same suit, doesn't fight the same wars, and doesn't have the same powers, yet the film proves that he doesn't need to. In a powerful speech near the film's conclusion, Sam addresses the world after exposing President Ross's corruption. Steve Rogers believed in a world that didn't exist yet, one where people stood up not because they were told to, but because it was right. Maybe it's time we build that world. This line encapsulates everything Brave New World stands for: evolution without erasure, progress without betrayal. The film also pays subtle homage to Steve through visual parallels. For example, during the climactic battle in Washington, Sam's final stand mirrors Steve's defiance in The Winter Soldier. Surrounded, outnumbered, and exhausted, Sam still raises his shield and declares that he will not surrender. The framing, lighting, and camera movement deliberately echo Steve's iconic stance, but with a key difference. Sam's shield bears marks and scratches, symbolizing imperfection and endurance. Where Steve's America was idealistic and clean-cut, Sam's is scarred yet still standing. The message is clear. The world has changed, but the fight for justice remains timeless. Even though Steve doesn't appear physically in the movie, his presence is felt in the reactions of others. Old allies like Sharon Carter and Bucky Barnes mention him sparingly, each time with reverence and melancholy. Bucky's brief mention of Steve and saying, "He'd be proud of you," serves as one of the most emotional moments in the film. That single line bridges the old and new generations of heroes, affirming that Steve's approval lives on through those who continue his mission. One of the most symbolic sequences comes in the movie's final moments. After the battle is won and Ross is exposed, Sam walks to the Lincoln Memorial at sunrise. He places the shield beside him and gazes at the horizon, reflecting silently. The sunlight gleams off the shield, and the camera pans upward to the sky, a visual metaphor connecting the past to the future. The background score gently reintroduces the classic Captain America theme, but rearranged in a modern orchestral tone. It's both nostalgic and fresh, perfectly capturing the film's central message. Legacies evolve. Steve Rogers' influence also extends beyond the characters into the broader world-building of the MCU. His actions continue to shape global politics, public expectations, and the moral compass of heroes and villains alike. In many ways, the political chaos in Brave New World stems from the vacuum left by his absence. Without Steve's steady hand, governments have grown desperate to control what they once trusted. Sam's mission, therefore, isn't just to protect people. It's to restore faith in the idea that goodness doesn't die with its champions. Ultimately, Brave New World treats Steve's legacy as a living idea rather than a memorialized past. It argues that Captain America isn't a person, it's a principle. Steve Rogers defined it in his time. Sam Wilson redefines it for ours. The world Steve dreamed of was simple: justice, equality, courage. The world Sam inherits is complex, divided, and cynical. Yet the beauty of Steve's legacy lies in its adaptability. It survives because it inspires transformation. By the time the film ends, audiences realize that Steve's greatest gift to the world wasn't the shield or the victories. It was the belief that ordinary people could stand tall against extraordinary odds. In Sam Wilson, that belief finds new life. Captain America. Brave New World doesn't bury the past, it builds upon it. It proves that the stars and stripes are not relics of nostalgia, but symbols of resilience, constantly evolving with each new generation that dares to pick up the shield. Dares to pick up the shield. The world of Captain America, Brave New World, 2025, is one engulfed not merely by superhuman conflict, but by the kind of corruption and deception that thrive in the halls of power. Unlike earlier Marvel installments that focused on cosmic or supernatural threats, this film dives deep into the murky waters of politics, manipulation, and moral decay. Here, the real villains aren't just those who wield weapons. They're the ones who control information, ideology, and influence. Through its layered narrative and complex antagonists, Brave New World transforms the traditional concept of villainy, offering a chillingly realistic look at how evil often hides behind patriotism, ambition, and control. At the heart of this darkness lies President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, whose role as both leader and manipulator blurs the line between hero and tyrant. His ideology, that power must be controlled for humanity's own good, becomes the film's philosophical foundation. Yet Ross is only one head of the hydra that threatens the world order. The movie introduces a new shadow network of political operatives, corporate magnates, and covert military forces working behind the scenes to shape global outcomes. This web of intrigue reveals how politics itself has become the new battlefield, where enemies are made not with bullets but with propaganda, treaties, and fear. The film's secondary villain, the leader, Samuel Stearns, makes his long-awaited return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe after his transformation in The Incredible Hulk, 2008. Once a brilliant scientist obsessed with gamma mutation, Stearns now operates as a puppet master of chaos, a genius-turned-strategist who uses intelligence as his greatest weapon. The leader's connection to Ross runs deep. The two men represent opposite sides of the same ideology. Where Ross seeks order through control, Stearns seeks evolution through chaos. He believes humanity's next stage depends on those willing to embrace power, not suppress it. His presence elevates the narrative from political drama to psychological warfare. In one particularly haunting scene, Stearns delivers a monologue to Ross in a private meeting. "You think you can control power, Mr. President? Power doesn't bend to law. It rewrites it." This chilling exchange highlights the movie's central tension, the futility of trying to govern forces that are inherently uncontrollable. The leader doesn't want to destroy the world. He wants to remake it, and he views Ross's government as the perfect catalyst. By feeding Ross intelligence about foreign threats and enhanced individuals, Stearns quietly manipulates him into triggering Project Red Horizon, the global militarization of superhero oversight. The political intrigue extends far beyond individual villains. The film portrays an interconnected system of deceit where governments, corporations, and private military groups all play their part. Intelligence agencies falsify data to justify war. News media spin narratives to control public opinion. World leaders exploit fear to consolidate power. It's a reflection of real-world politics where truth itself becomes a weapon. Brave New World captures this sense of paranoia perfectly through its cinematography. Cold lighting, shadowy rooms, and muted colors convey the claustrophobia of a world drowning in secrecy. Among the film's most powerful new antagonistic elements is the Sovereigns, a radical organization claiming to fight for human freedom from superhuman dominance. On the surface, they appear to be a terrorist group opposing heroes like Sam Wilson. However, as the story unfolds, it becomes clear they are being manipulated by Ross's administration as a false enemy, a manufactured crisis to justify increased surveillance and militarization. This revelation adds another layer of political commentary. The Sovereigns, though extremist, become tragic figures, pawns in a game orchestrated by those already in power. Their leader, known only as Reaper, serves as the film's physical antagonist and ideological counterpart to Sam. Reaper is a disillusioned war veteran who once idolized Captain America, but now views the shield as a symbol of government hypocrisy. His mask, forged from scrap metal resembling the shield's shape, visually embodies his twisted admiration. In his eyes, heroes like Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson are not saviors but tools of propaganda. Reaper's personal vendetta against the idea of Captain America leads to some of the film's most intense confrontations. In one scene, he taunts Sam during combat. "You wear his colors, but you bleed like the rest of us." The line stings not because it's cruel, but because it forces Sam to confront the fragility of his own identity as the new Captain America. What makes the villains of Brave New World so compelling is their believability. None of them see themselves as evil. Ross believes he's saving the world. Stearns believes he's advancing it. Reaper believes he's liberating it. Their motives reflect real human fears: fear of chaos, fear of inferiority, fear of irrelevance. The film uses these motivations to build a web of conflict where every decision feels morally ambiguous. Even Sam's allies struggle to discern right from wrong. The line between hero and villain fades, leaving only intentions and consequences. The narrative complexity deepens through Project Red Horizon, the secret government initiative designed by Ross and influenced by Stearns. Officially, it's meant to regulate superhero activity and prevent global conflict. In reality, it's a weaponized system capable of targeting and neutralizing enhanced individuals worldwide. The project's code of ethics, called the Global Security Accord, echoes the Sokovia Accords but on a far more sinister scale, transforming law into control. When Sam discovers that Red Horizon is being activated under false pretenses, he realizes that this political structure is the true villain of the story. The espionage sequences that follow are reminiscent of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, yet Brave New World adds psychological depth. Instead of chasing assassins, Sam is chasing truths buried under classified documents, secret transactions, and manipulated broadcasts. In one gripping sequence, he infiltrates a data vault in Geneva to uncover Ross's secret dealings. The entire scene unfolds in near silence, the tension broken only by the hum of servers and Sam's racing heartbeat. When he finally retrieves the evidence, he whispers to himself, "The enemy was never outside." That line becomes a thematic cornerstone, the realization that corruption thrives within the systems meant to protect. The leader's ultimate scheme is revealed in the third act. He plans to hijack Red Horizon's technology, merging it with his gamma-based neural interface to create a global mind control network. His goal isn't domination for ego, it's forced evolution. If humanity won't evolve by choice, he says, then evolution must be commanded. His twisted logic transforms science into tyranny, turning intellect into arrogance. This concept mirrors the dangers of technological overreach in our real world, a warning about how innovation without ethics leads to enslavement, not enlightenment. As the political and scientific conspiracies intertwine, the tension reaches its peak. Sam Wilson must not only stop the villains, but expose the entire system that allowed them to rise. This requires more than physical courage. It demands moral conviction. The final battle, a chaotic convergence of Reaper's insurgents, Ross's soldiers, and Stearns' augmented agents, becomes a metaphor for the clash of ideologies. Each faction fights for control of the narrative while Sam fights for the truth. Visually, the climactic sequence is breathtaking. The camera alternates between aerial combat and political chaos, showing civilians caught in the crossfire while the world watches live broadcasts of the destruction. In the midst of this storm, Sam's voice echoes across screens worldwide as he exposes the conspiracy. His speech doesn't glorify victory. It condemns deceit. Power built on fear isn't power, it's prison, he declares. That moment dismantles the villain's control, not through violence but through truth. By the end, the villains fall not because they're defeated physically, but because their philosophies collapse under the weight of exposure. Ross's manipulation is laid bare, the leader is captured, and Reaper's rebellion crumbles. Yet the movie avoids offering a neat resolution. The damage to the world's faith in leadership remains. The final scenes show nations still divided, people still questioning, and Sam standing amidst the ruins of political lies. The villains may be gone, but their ideologies linger, a haunting reminder that corruption never truly dies. It simply changes faces. The brilliance of Captain America. Brave New World lies in how it redefines what villainy means in modern storytelling. Gone are the clear-cut battles of good versus evil. Instead, the film presents villains who are reflections of societal decay, fear of freedom, addiction to control, and the human tendency to justify oppression in the name of order. Every antagonist serves as a distorted mirror to Sam Wilson, challenging his ideals and forcing him to redefine what being Captain America truly means in a brave new world. Ultimately, the villains and political intrigue of this film elevate it far beyond standard superhero fare. They expose the uncomfortable truth that the greatest enemies of justice are often those who claim to protect it. In doing so, the movie honors the legacy of past Captain America stories while fearlessly confronting the ethical dilemmas of our own time. Few emblems in cinematic history carry as much emotional and cultural weight as Captain America's shield. From the moment Steve Rogers first hurled it across the battlefield in Captain America, the first Avenger, it became more than a weapon. It became a statement of ideals, courage, justice, and self-sacrifice. Yet in Captain America, Brave New World, 2025, that same symbol takes on a more complex and challenging meaning. Under the stewardship of Sam Wilson, the shield evolves from being a patriotic emblem tied to one man's legacy into a universal metaphor for accountability, equality, and hope in a divided world. The movie doesn't just give Sam the shield, it gives him the burden of redefining what that shield means in an age of moral confusion and political unrest. At the film's outset, we find Sam struggling with the shield's duality. It's both a blessing and a curse, a symbol of everything good about America, and yet a reminder of everything flawed in its history. The gleaming vibranium disc represents ideals like honor and integrity, but to many, it also represents control, militarization, and hypocrisy. This tension becomes one of the film's emotional cores. The movie asks, can a symbol remain pure when the society that worships it becomes corrupted? Can Captain America still stand for freedom when the world he protects no longer understands what freedom means? In one powerful early scene, Sam visits the Smithsonian's Captain America exhibit, a moment echoing his appearances in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As he gazes at Steve Rogers' shield encased behind glass, his reflection overlaps with it, symbolizing the merging of past and present. A curator nearby whispers, "He gave the world hope." Sam quietly responds, "He gave you hope. I'm still earning mine." That single line captures the essence of his journey. The shield is no longer just an heirloom. It's a living question. Who deserves to wield it, and what does it truly stand for now? Throughout Brave New World, the shield becomes a storytelling device, not just a weapon in battle, but a mirror reflecting the world's perception of Captain America himself. Early in the movie, Sam faces criticism from media pundits and politicians who accuse him of politicizing the mantle. Some see him as a hero, others call him an imposter. The debates, protests, and propaganda swirling around him represent how the meaning of symbols evolves depending on who holds power. This dynamic turns the film into a meditation on cultural identity, how one man's hero can be another man's threat. In earlier Marvel films, Steve Rogers represented a simpler era of heroism. His moral compass pointed unflinchingly toward the good, even when that meant defying orders. But Sam Wilson's world is far messier. He isn't just battling villains, he's battling perceptions. The shield now must stand for everyone, not just for soldiers, not just for Americans, but for humanity itself. This globalized evolution reflects the changing nature of the MCU and of real-world geopolitics. In an interconnected world, nationalism can no longer be the foundation of heroism. Brave New World acknowledges that by turning Captain America into a citizen of the world, rather than a symbol of one nation, the film cleverly contrasts the visual language of the shield in different contexts. When Sam uses it in combat, the cinematography emphasizes its fluidity, spinning, deflecting, protecting, a tool of defense, not aggression. But when it's displayed in political rallies or televised speeches, it feels heavy, static, almost suffocating. This contrast underscores the difference between the idea of Captain America and the reality of being him. The movie's directors and cinematographers use light and framing to communicate the emotional gravity behind each appearance of the shield. In one stunning shot, Sam places the shield on the ground before addressing a war-torn crowd. The camera lingers on it, scratched, scorched, and stained with dust, a visual metaphor for hope tested by struggle. As the story unfolds, Sam's understanding of the symbol evolves alongside his confidence. Initially, he views it as something to live up to, an impossible standard set by a mythic predecessor. But through his journey, he learns that symbols only have the power people give them. In a conversation with Joaquin Torres, Sam says, "The shield doesn't make the man gives it meaning." This line becomes the thematic thesis of the film. It's a rejection of idol worship and an embrace of responsibility. Sam doesn't try to become Steve Rogers. He becomes the Captain America that the present world needs, when willing to confront uncomfortable truths instead of hiding behind nostalgic ideals. The movie deepens this evolution through flashbacks and emotional beats. We see glimpses of Sam's time as a counselor for veterans, moments where he listens more than he speaks. These flashbacks remind audiences that his superpower has always been empathy, not super serum or unbreakable bones, but the ability to connect. The shield in his hands becomes a bridge between worlds, between soldiers and civilians, between nations, between past and future. That transformation of the symbol from protection of the state to protection of the people is one of the film's boldest and most moving achievements. There's also a crucial scene mid-film that captures this symbolic transformation perfectly. During a confrontation with the leader's forces, Sam throws the shield to protect a group of civilians caught in the crossfire. The impact creates a ripple of dust and light, a visual echo of Steve's old heroics. But instead of chasing his enemy, Sam stays with the people, helping them to safety. A little girl looks up at him and says, "I thought Captain America only fought bad guys." Sam smiles and replies, "That's what I'm doing." It's a subtle, human moment that encapsulates his version of heroism, not conquest, but compassion. As the film progresses, the shield also becomes a target. Both villains and allies project their desires onto it. Ross sees it as a tool of control. Stearns views it as a relic of human limitation, and Reaper sees it as a symbol of lies. Each of them tries to either claim it or destroy it, proving that whoever controls the symbol controls the story. In one harrowing scene, the shield is shattered, not physically beyond repair, but emotionally. When it falls into enemy hands, propaganda broadcasts twist its meaning, claiming Captain America has fallen. The world reacts in chaos, mirroring how fragile belief in icons can be. But rather than despair, Sam uses the loss to make a point, that heroism isn't defined by metal but by action. When he retrieves the shield later, he does so not to reclaim his title, but to remind people that ideals can't be destroyed by lies. The film's climax elevates the symbolism further. During the final confrontation, amidst explosions and moral chaos, Sam stands before a global audience and delivers his most powerful speech, one not about patriotism, but about unity. With the shield resting at his side, he says, "This isn't a weapon and it's not a crown. It's a promise that no one stands alone." In that instant, the shield ceases to be a piece of history and becomes a living vow. It belongs to everyone who dares to believe in fairness, courage, and compassion. What makes this transformation so profound is that it doesn't reject Steve Rogers' legacy. It expands it. Steve fought for the America that could be. Sam fights for the world that must be. The shield, once a symbol of national pride, becomes a symbol of global conscience. The movie even subtly reworks the color palette of Sam's suit, blending the red, white, and blue with darker tones and metallic textures, signifying both continuity and change. It's still Captain America, but it's a Captain America molded by modern complexity, not wartime simplicity. From a meta perspective, Brave New World uses the evolution of the shield to comment on how audiences themselves have changed. In 2011, the shield represented nostalgia for simpler heroism. In 2025, it stands as a challenge to re-examine what heroism means when truth, justice, and morality are constantly in flux. The filmmakers understand that symbols must evolve or risk becoming hollow. Through Sam's journey, they prove that the legacy of Captain America was never about who carried the shield, but about why they carried it. By the end of the film, when Sam walks away from the chaos, the shield strapped to his back, it no longer looks like a burden. It looks like belonging. He's no longer a substitute for Steve Rogers or a political figurehead. He's a man who has taken a symbol once used to divide and turned it into one that unites. The closing shot, Sam walking into the horizon, the shield glinting in the rising sun, encapsulates the rebirth of the icon. Captain America is not an identity frozen in time. It's a living, breathing idea that changes with every generation brave enough to carry it. In Captain America, Brave New World, the evolution of the symbol is not just a subplot. It's the very heart of the narrative. It redefines the shield from a relic of the past into a beacon for the future. It invites the audience to question their own symbols, their own heroes, and the stories they choose to believe in. The movie reminds us that true power doesn't lie in the object or the title, but in the courage to give those things meaning. And through Sam Wilson, Captain America becomes exactly what the world needs. Not a soldier with a shield, but a leader with a soul. If Captain America, Brave New World, 2025, succeeds in one area beyond all else, it is in its ability to merge breathtaking action with deep emotional storytelling. Every punch, chase, and explosion feels earned, not just spectacle for its own sake, but a reflection of character, ideology, and consequence. The film's directors have crafted an aesthetic that bridges the grounded realism of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, with the expansive visual language of the modern MCU. The result is a cinematic experience that feels both intimate and epic, a story told through motion, rhythm, and texture as much as through words. The action sequences in Brave New World are more than set pieces. They're extensions of the film's themes. The choreography emphasizes physicality and realism over CGI excess, reminding viewers that Sam Wilson's Captain America is human, vulnerable, resilient, and resourceful. His fighting style is agile and adaptive, a blend of acrobatics, aerial maneuvering, and close-quarters combat. Unlike Steve Rogers, whose movements reflected brute strength and precision, Sam fights like a tactician, using his surroundings and wings to outthink rather than overpower his enemies. This shift isn't just aesthetic, it's ideological. It shows that being Captain America is not about being the strongest, but about being the smartest, most determined person in the room. The opening sequence of the film sets this tone immediately. In a stunning aerial chase over the deserts of North Africa, Sam intercepts a stolen experimental aircraft carrying classified weapons. The camera follows him in long, fluid takes, weaving through clouds, explosions, and debris. The wings, redesigned with sleeker edges and enhanced thrusters, allow for intricate maneuvering, and the choreography treats the sky itself as a battlefield. The sound design here is masterful. The whir of turbines, the crackle of communication static, the muffled heartbeat inside Sam's helmet. The sequence feels immersive and chaotic, yet entirely coherent, setting a standard for action that balances adrenaline with artistry. The cinematography throughout the film, led by a combination of handheld realism and smooth aerial drone shots, creates a feeling of immediacy. The color palette leans toward cold blues and metallic grays during urban conflicts, while warmer tones appear in moments of moral clarity or personal triumph. Each action scene has its own visual identity. The Geneva Vault infiltration glows in sterile white light, symbolizing the false purity of government control. The jungle skirmish in South America, where Sam and Joaquin Torres uncover a secret lab tied to the leader, uses deep greens and mist to evoke claustrophobia and mystery. Even the lighting becomes part of the storytelling, and shadows and flashes reflecting the duality between truth and deception that runs through the film. The film's fight choreography deserves special attention. The production reportedly enlisted real military consultants and martial arts coordinators to craft sequences that feel authentic to Sam's combat background. His movements blend parkour, wing-assisted jumps, and shield deflections into something uniquely his own. In one memorable scene, Sam battles a dozen mercenaries atop a cargo ship at night. Rain lashes across the deck, engines roar beneath, and the fight unfolds with brutal efficiency. Each strike has weight, each movement purpose. When Sam blocks a grenade with the shield and redirects the explosion through his wings to knock down multiple enemies, it's not just clever. It's symbolic of how he turns defense into empowerment. Where Brave New World truly stands out, however, is in its emotional approach to action. Every major fight is rooted in character conflict rather than spectacle. The confrontation between Sam and Reaper, for example, is shot not like a superhero duel but like a personal reckoning. The camera stays close, almost suffocatingly intimate, emphasizing their physical exhaustion and moral opposition. As they trade blows, their conversation reveals their philosophies. Reaper's belief in tearing down corrupt systems versus Sam's hope in reforming them. The punches punctuate the dialogue, creating a rhythm that feels more like a debate than a brawl. The mid-film action sequence in Washington, D.C. is one of the most intricately constructed scenes in the MCU. It begins as a peaceful rally where Sam is set to give a speech about global unity. Suddenly, coordinated drone attacks and gas explosions erupt, orchestrated by the Sovereigns. The chaos unfolds in real time with no cuts for nearly 5 minutes, a testament to the filmmaker's confidence. Civilians scatter, security forces clash, and Sam must navigate between saving lives and identifying the source of the attack. The use of shaky cam and tight framing places the viewer inside the confusion. When Sam finally takes flight, the camera follows him vertically, soaring from the ground up through smoke clouds and collapsing scaffolds, symbolizing his moral ascent amidst destruction. The filmmakers use contrast brilliantly. Quiet moments punctuate the violence, allowing tension to breathe. After the DC chaos, there's a silent scene where Sam washes the dust from his shield in a sink. No music, no dialogue, just water dripping, metal clinking, and his reflection fractured across the shield's surface. That calmness hits harder than any explosion, reminding viewers that heroism is exhausting, not glamorous. This balance between spectacle and stillness gives Brave New World its emotional depth. The climactic battle in the third act is a tour de force of choreography, visual storytelling, and emotional stakes. Set in a sprawling metropolis partially under siege, the confrontation weaves together ground combat, aerial dogfights, and digital warfare. The leader's army of enhanced operatives floods the city, while Ross's forces attempt to contain the chaos through authoritarian means. The visual juxtaposition, soldiers versus civilians, drones versus shields, sky versus earth, mirrors the film's central theme, control versus freedom. Sam's entrance into this final battle is cinematic poetry. As dawn breaks, he descends from the sky through smoke and sunlight, the new Captain America silhouette emerging against the chaos. The musical score swells, a reimagined orchestral version of Alan Silvestri's classic theme, blended with African percussion and gospel undertones, representing Sam's identity and heritage. Each movement is deliberate, every frame composed to reflect rebirth. The fight choreography in this climax evolves along with Sam's confidence. Early in the movie, he often retreats, deflects, and calculates. Here he commands, leading civilians to safety, directing Torres in mid-air maneuvers, and confronting the leader in hand-to-hand combat. When he finally throws the shield through a collapsing drone carrier, the camera tracks it in a continuous motion, symbolizing the liberation of truth cutting through technological oppression. The entire sequence is visually dense yet narratively clear, an achievement that few MCU films have managed since The Winter Soldier. Another standout is the editing rhythm. The film alternates between macro chaos, wide shots of destruction and mass movement, and micro storytelling, close-ups of eyes, trembling hands, or blood-stained symbols. These transitions remind viewers that amidst the spectacle, the human element remains the focus. The explosions never overshadow the emotions. They amplify them. The sound design deserves equal praise. Every sonic detail, from the whirring of Sam's jetpack to the thud of his shield striking concrete, carries impact. The mix shifts dynamically based on perspective. Muffled interior sounds during helmet shots, expansive echoes during open-air battles. Composer Henry Jackman's score builds layers of tension using horns, drums, and digital distortion, echoing the blend of tradition and modernity that defines the film's tone. Cinematically, Brave New World positions itself between espionage thriller and political war epic. Its visual language borrows the tight, gritty camera work of The Bourne Ultimatum and the grandeur of Black Panther. The directors employ practical stunts wherever possible, grounding the film's fantasy elements in real physics. Sam's wing-assisted leaps and shield rebounds were achieved through a mix of wirework and drone-mounted cameras, creating natural motion that CGI alone can't replicate. The filmmaker's dedication to authenticity results in action that feels tactile. You can almost feel the wind, the metal, the impact. But what truly sets this film apart is its use of action to question ideology. In one quiet yet intense sequence, Sam refuses to execute a captured enemy despite government orders. Instead of glorifying defiance, the camera lingers on his hesitation, his moral conflict. This choice to slow down rather than speed up the scene makes the action more profound. Violence isn't glorified. It's examined. That decision to humanize combat aligns perfectly with Sam's identity as a leader who values life over dominance. The finale concludes with a breathtaking visual metaphor. As the sun rises over the battlefield, Sam plants the shield into the ground, not as a flag of victory but as a marker of survival. The camera pans upward, revealing a city scarred but standing, citizens emerging from rubble. The lens flares softly, symbolizing hope breaking through darkness. It's less about triumph and more about endurance, the idea that rebuilding is the real act of heroism. In terms of cinematic style, Brave New World redefines what a superhero action movie can look like. It refuses to rely solely on CGI-heavy spectacles or mindless destruction. Instead, it tells a story through rhythm, contrast, and emotional weight. Contrast and emotional weight. Every era of Captain America's legacy introduces a fresh lineup of allies and adversaries, people who shape the moral and emotional weight of his journey. In Captain America: Brave New World 2025, the Marvel Cinematic Universe masterfully expands its roster, with a blend of returning characters, new faces, and hidden players operating in the shadows. Each new introduction carries a specific narrative function. Some reflect Sam Wilson's evolving ideals, others challenge his faith in humanity, and a few exist in the gray area between friend and foe. Together they form a web of alliances and betrayals that elevate Brave New World into one of the most politically and psychologically intricate Marvel films to date. At the core of these relationships lies Joaquin Torres, played by Danny Ramirez, Sam's trusted ally and protege. Having first appeared in The Falcon and The Winter Soldier, Torres returns as a fully realized partner, the new Falcon. His wings, rebuilt and enhanced with Stark-level tech and Wakandan upgrades, allow him to complement Sam's grounded style with aerial precision. The chemistry between Sam and Torres forms the film's emotional backbone. Their bond feels brotherly yet professional, mutual respect mixed with generational difference. Torres symbolizes the new generation of heroes who've grown up in a world where the Avengers are myths and governments are corrupt. In one standout early scene, Sam and Torres infiltrate a border conflict zone to recover stolen Wakandan vibranium. Their dynamic mirrors the Steve-Bucky partnership of old, action balanced by banter. Torres, ever the idealist, tells Sam, "You carry the shield, I'll carry the faith." It's a powerful moment that defines their relationship. Sam carries responsibility, Torres carries belief. But that trust is later tested when political manipulation forces Torres to choose between obeying orders and following Sam's moral compass. His loyalty becomes a test of character, making his arc one of the most relatable in the film. Another significant new ally is Layla Hassan, an intelligence operative introduced as a UN peace liaison working alongside Sam. Portrayed by an actress of striking intensity, rumored to be Yara Shahidi, Layla initially seems like a supporting diplomat, helping coordinate international cooperation against global threats. But as the plot unfolds, she proves far more complex. Beneath her calm professionalism lies a deep disillusionment with the institution she serves. She becomes both a moral anchor and a catalyst for tension, challenging Sam's belief in diplomacy when she reveals that the UN has been complicit in Ross's covert projects. In one of the film's most tense exchanges, Layla tells Sam, "The world doesn't need another soldier with a symbol. It needs someone willing to tear the symbol down." Her words echo through the narrative, forcing Sam to confront whether Captain America is still a unifying force or an outdated illusion. Their relationship blurs the line between allyship and rivalry. She supports Sam's mission but refuses to idolize him. This nuanced dynamic gives the story intellectual depth, allowing for ideological conflict that goes beyond simple hero versus villain tropes. Then comes the reintroduction of Betty Ross, Liv Tyler, who returns to the MCU after over a decade. Her presence adds layers of personal and political intrigue. Now a scientist working under government supervision, she finds herself torn between loyalty to her father, President Thaddeus Ross, and her ethical duty as a researcher. Betty's expertise in gamma radiation makes her a key player in the leader's plotline, as she unknowingly helps develop the neural interface that Stearns later weaponizes. Her emotional arc becomes tragic, a woman seeking redemption for her past, trapped in a web spun by men driven by ego and power. Her scenes with Sam are some of the film's most emotionally grounded. When she realizes how her research has been exploited, she confides in Sam, "My father thinks control is salvation. He never understood that real strength is restraint." This moment bridges the film's human drama with its larger political narrative. Betty's vulnerability contrasts beautifully with Sam's resilience, and together they highlight the emotional cost of fighting for truth in a world built on deception. Another crucial ally introduced in Brave New World is Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten super soldier from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, who returns as a mentor figure. His story, once buried under government secrecy, becomes a public revelation in this film. Now living quietly but with newfound respect, Isaiah serves as a living reminder of America's moral contradictions. His brief but poignant appearances offer Sam moments of reflection and grounding. When Sam doubts whether his actions matter, Isaiah tells him, "Symbols don't change the world. People do, and you're one of them." That line reinforces Sam's emotional growth, reminding audiences that heroism isn't about perfection, but persistence. Beyond the allies, the film's intrigue thrives on its hidden enemies, figures who operate not in masks but in meetings. The most striking of these is General Shepard, a senior military advisor to President Ross, played by Giancarlo Esposito. Shepard is introduced as a staunch supporter of the administration's Global Security Initiative. At first, he appears to be a loyal officer, devoted to maintaining order in a chaotic world. But his calm demeanor and eloquent rhetoric conceal a chilling pragmatism. He's not interested in peace, only stability at any cost. As the film progresses, it's revealed that Shepard has been coordinating secret weapons testing and enhanced soldier programs, manipulating both Ross and the leader to fulfill his own agenda. In one jaw-dropping twist, Shepard is exposed as a covert operative for an underground cabal known as the Circle, a clandestine organization of political elites spanning multiple nations. The Circle's goal is not domination through violence, but control through dependency, keeping the world's powers entangled in endless crises so that no one nation can rise above the rest. This revelation reframes the entire narrative, revealing that Ross, Stearns, and the Sovereigns were all pawns in a much larger geopolitical chess game. Adding further tension is the character Amira, an ex-SHIELD operative turned whistleblower who assists Sam in uncovering classified intelligence. Initially presented as a rogue hacker, she becomes the audience's lens into the world of surveillance and espionage. Her access to encrypted government data helps expose Project Red Horizon, the mass control weapon designed by Ross's administration. Her interactions with Torres bring humor and heart to the film, the idealistic pilot and the cynical hacker forming an unlikely friendship grounded in mutual trust. Yet her past as a SHIELD agent introduces doubt. Can Sam truly trust someone trained in deception? This ambiguity keeps audiences guessing until the very end. The interplay between allies and enemies in Brave New World is built on misdirection. Characters frequently swap moral positions, creating a web of uncertainty that mirrors real-world politics. Layla, the diplomat, becomes a revolutionary. Shepard, the loyal soldier, is revealed as a manipulator. Betty, the scientist, becomes an accidental accomplice to villainy. And Amira, the outlaw, becomes the moral conscience of the team. Each revelation forces Sam to navigate an increasingly blurred landscape, where righteousness and corruption coexist. Even the leader himself operates in shades of ambiguity. While clearly antagonistic, his intelligence and charisma make him strangely sympathetic. He claims that his work, merging technology with human biology, is the only way to ensure survival in an unstable world. His partnership with Shepard and Ross unravels as the movie progresses, leading to a climactic betrayal where the leader turns on his human collaborators, declaring, "You wanted order. I wanted evolution. Neither of us deserve the future." As the network of hidden enemies collapses, Sam and his allies face not just physical danger, but philosophical confrontation. The real war becomes ideological, a clash between transparency and control, unity and division. This is symbolized beautifully in a late film sequence where Sam and Layla broadcast the Circle's classified files to the world. The montage that follows, citizens protesting, soldiers standing down, governments panicking, captures the film's thesis that truth, once revealed, is the most dangerous weapon of all. The film closes its exploration of alliances with a moment of hope. Sam, Torres, Amira, and Layla stand together on a rooftop overlooking a battered city. The sun rises slowly, casting long shadows across the skyline. Sam turns to his team and says, "We can't save the world alone, but we can remind it what it's supposed to be." This line encapsulates not just the movie's emotional conclusion, but the spirit of its alliances. Heroism isn't about solitary strength. It's about collective courage. Captain America. Brave New World uses its ensemble of allies and hidden enemies to mirror the world we live in, one where loyalty is fragile, power is seductive, and truth is constantly under threat. Through its intricate network of characters, the film weaves a story that's not just about saving the world, but understanding it. Every ally adds heart, every enemy adds perspective. And in that delicate balance between trust and betrayal, Sam Wilson learns that being Captain America isn't about having the right allies. It's about having the courage to face the wrong ones. Captain America, Brave New World 2025 is more than a superhero film. It's a reflection of modern geopolitics, power struggles, and moral ambiguity in a world desperately seeking stability. The movie boldly steps away from the traditional good versus evil formula to dive into the complexities of international politics, government corruption, and the consequences of unchecked power. It transforms Captain America's shield from a symbol of patriotic heroism into a lens through which the audience can examine today's fractured world order. At its heart, the film poses one of the most haunting questions of our time. What does leadership mean in a world where truth itself is politicized? Sam Wilson, now bearing the mantle of Captain America, finds himself at the center of this ideological storm. Unlike Steve Rogers, who fought clear-cut battles against Hydra or Thanos, Sam must face enemies who wear suits instead of armor, who wage wars through policies rather than weapons, and who manipulate the truth as easily as others wield swords. The political landscape of Brave New World mirrors the postmodern crisis of faith, a time when institutions once trusted to protect humanity now exploit fear to maintain control. The film opens with a powerful sequence showing an international summit convened by President Thaddeus "Thunderbolt" Ross. The world is recovering from multiple global crises, economic collapse, territorial conflicts, and a surge of unregulated superhuman activity following Avengers Endgame. Ross proposes a new defense initiative called the Global Security Accord, which aims to unify nations under a single defense framework led by the United States. On paper, it's a call for peace and order. In practice, it's the beginning of a subtle global power grab. The summit's scenes are shot with a chilling realism. Long tables, stern faces, media flashes, and diplomats shaking hands while quietly trading threats. Sam, attending as a representative of international humanitarian efforts, quickly realizes the initiative's darker undertones. He senses that Ross's agenda isn't about unity but control, a global version of the Sokovia Accords, reborn under new rhetoric. Through Sam's eyes, the audience witnesses how political systems can dress authoritarianism in the language of security. His internal conflict deepens when even his allies, such as Joaquin Torres and Layla Hassan, express differing views on whether centralized power is necessary to maintain peace. Throughout the film, Brave New World uses politics not as background flavor, but as the driving force of its narrative. President Ross embodies the paradox of modern leadership, a man driven by fear, justified by experience, and blinded by the illusion that control equals safety. His transformation from a decorated general to a political figurehead parallels real-world leaders who blur the lines between patriotism and tyranny. Ross's motivations stem from loss, his encounters with the Hulk, his failures in past crises, and his belief that the world is spiraling into chaos. To him, the brave new world is a necessary evolution, a world that sacrifices freedom for order. This political ideology is personified through the project at the film's core. Project Red Horizon. Pitched as a global peacekeeping program, it secretly involves human enhancement experiments designed to create obedient super soldiers. The program becomes a metaphor for the militarization of science and the ethical decay of governments prioritizing dominance over humanity. When Sam uncovers the project's existence, it's not just an act of espionage, it's an act of rebellion against a global system that thrives on secrecy. His decision to expose it makes him both a hero and a fugitive, a reflection of how truth-tellers are often punished in political structures built on lies. The film skillfully integrates these political layers into its action sequences. One standout moment occurs during a high-stakes chase through Geneva, where Sam is pursued by global defense drones deployed by Ross's government. As he flies through the city skyline, dodging laser fire and collapsing structures, the scene is intercut with live news coverage framing him as a domestic terrorist. It's a sobering commentary on the power of media manipulation and how easily the world can be made to fear its heroes when authority controls the narrative. This theme of information control extends into the subplot involving the Circle, a secret network of world elites manipulating global events to maintain economic dominance. Unlike Hydra, the Circle doesn't seek open conquest. It seeks influence through debt, media, and policy. Their existence reflects the 21st century shift in warfare, from physical conflict to psychological and informational control. By leaking the Circle's classified files, Sam's team not only exposes corruption but also unleashes a storm of global unrest. Countries begin questioning alliances, citizens rise in protest, and the film closes with the world standing on the edge of political transformation. What makes Brave New World so compelling is its refusal to offer easy answers. It doesn't glorify rebellion, nor does it demonize authority entirely. Instead, it explores the uncomfortable truth that power, no matter who wields it, carries the risk of corruption. Sam's journey becomes a moral balancing act between maintaining order and defending freedom. His greatest strength isn't his shield. It's his ability to question his own side. One of the film's most powerful scenes unfolds in the Oval Office, where Sam confronts Ross after uncovering Project Red Horizon. The dialogue between them feels less like a hero-villain exchange and more like a philosophical debate. Ross argues that fear is the only language the world understands, that unity can only be achieved through strength. Sam counters that fear creates submission, not unity, and that strength without compassion becomes tyranny. The argument crescendos as Sam declares, "You can't build a free world with locked doors." This line encapsulates the movie's entire political thesis, that progress built on control is an illusion, destined to collapse under its own hypocrisy. As Brave New World unfolds, the film also explores the global consequences of America's actions. Once Captain America's symbol represented hope to the world, now it evokes skepticism and resentment. In several key scenes, foreign leaders openly question why one nation should dictate global peace. This commentary mirrors the post-Avengers reality, a universe grappling with who gets to decide what justice looks like. By acknowledging these international perspectives, Marvel gives the story a global consciousness rarely seen in superhero films. The inclusion of Wakanda's diplomatic representative, Io, further grounds these themes. She challenges Sam to recognize that the world doesn't need one Captain America. It needs many leaders. From every corner, this line resonates deeply, shifting the narrative from American exceptionalism to global collaboration. Sam's acceptance of this idea marks his evolution as a leader, from a man wearing a nation's colors to a hero representing humanity as a whole. The movie's global scale is reflected in its set pieces. From the crowded streets of São Paulo to the arid landscapes of Cairo, each location embodies a different aspect of the world's political tensions. In Cairo, Sam negotiates with underground activists who view him as a symbol of American propaganda. In São Paulo, mass protests erupt against the circle's economic manipulations. These sequences, while action-packed, are rooted in realism, depicting how the actions of a few powerful figures can ripple across continents. Another critical moment occurs during an international broadcast scene. After exposing the circle, Sam hijacks a global satellite feed to address the world directly. Standing atop a damaged communication tower, he delivers a speech that mirrors Steve Rogers' ideals, but adapts them to modern times. We can't wait for governments to give us peace. We have to make it ourselves, together. The speech resonates across nations, sparking both hope and chaos. The final montage shows ordinary citizens, soldiers, and politicians reacting, some inspired, others terrified. The consequence is clear. The truth has set the world free, but freedom comes with instability. This ending perfectly captures the political essence of Brave New World. The film doesn't end with a neat resolution. Instead, it leaves audiences questioning the cost of transparency and the fragility of democracy in a digital age. It challenges viewers to reflect on how societies balance safety and liberty, and how easily noble intentions can become tools of oppression. Ultimately, Captain America, Brave New World succeeds because it understands that politics and heroism are inseparable. In an era where propaganda shapes perception, where leaders weaponize fear, and where technology amplifies division, the movie dares to ask what it truly means to lead. Sam Wilson emerges not just as a superhero, but as a philosopher warrior, someone who fights not just with muscle, but with conviction. By the time the credits roll, the world within the MCU has changed forever. Governments are exposed, citizens rise, old alliances crumble, and yet, amid all the political chaos, one truth remains. As long as there are people willing to stand up, there's still hope for the brave new world humanity dreams of. Among the pantheon of Marvel villains, few stand out for their sheer intellect and complexity like Samuel Stearns, better known as the Leader. His long-awaited return in Captain America, Brave New World 2025, transforms the film from a political thriller into a psychological chess match between ideology and intellect. The Leader is not just a villain. He's an embodiment of knowledge without morality, a scientist consumed by his own obsession with evolution and control. His re-emergence after years in hiding brings with it a terrifying reminder. The greatest threats to humanity are not always born of power, but of genius misused. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Samuel Stearns was first introduced in The Incredible Hulk, 2008, portrayed by Tim Blake Nelson. Back then, he was a well-meaning geneticist, fascinated by Bruce Banner's gamma-irradiated blood. However, when exposed to gamma radiation himself, his brain began mutating, granting him superhuman intellect but warping his sense of ethics. Brave New World picks up on that forgotten thread, showing how after years of experimentation and self-imposed exile, Stearns has fully embraced his transformation into the Leader. The film treats him not as a one-dimensional antagonist, but as a dark reflection of humanity's thirst for progress, brilliant, articulate, and terrifyingly rational. When Stearns first appears in the movie, it's not with fanfare or violence, but with eerie calm. He's seen lecturing a group of scientists inside an underground facility known as the Atlas Compound, hidden beneath the Andes Mountains. He speaks, softly, almost serenely, about humanity's next phase of evolution. His tone is persuasive, his ideas seductive. He declares, "Humanity has built gods out of muscle and myth, It's time we build one from mind. This line encapsulates his philosophy, that intellect, not morality, should guide evolution. Unlike Thanos, who sought balance through destruction, or Ultron, who sought peace through extinction, the leader seeks dominion through knowledge. His power is not physical, it's informational. He manipulates governments, exploits data, and influences minds through psychological and technological warfare. His role in Brave New World is to act as the hidden architect behind the film's central conflicts. While Ross and the Circle fight over political control, Stern sees them as mere pawns in his grand design. What makes the leader so compelling is his psychological depth. The film dedicates significant time to exploring his transformation from man to intellect incarnate. Through haunting flashbacks, we see Stern's descent into obsession. After the events of The Incredible Hulk, he survived the government's attempt to contain him and went underground, using his expanded mind to manipulate global systems from the shadows. His mutation has amplified every cognitive function: memory, pattern recognition, foresight, but at the cost of empathy. He feels no guilt, no attachment, only curiosity. His mind, now a labyrinth of infinite logic, perceives morality as inefficiency. One of the most chilling sequences shows Stearns alone in his lab, surrounded by holographic screens displaying global crises, wars, environmental collapses, political unrest. He whispers to himself, "Chaos is just nature's algorithm finding equilibrium." This scene perfectly captures his twisted rationality. He sees the world not as broken but as imperfectly optimized, something to be corrected through intellectual evolution. The cinematography reflects this mindset. Sharp symmetry, sterile, lighting, and camera movements that mimic precision rather than emotion. Every frame communicates control. The leader's reintroduction also ties deeply into the movie's political themes. While Ross uses authority and the Circle uses money, Stearns uses information, the most powerful weapon of all. He has infiltrated global defense networks, hacked intelligence systems, and created deepfake political figures to manipulate world leaders. His ultimate goal is not to rule the world, but to reshape it into what he calls the cognitive order. In his view, emotions, ethics, and democracy are flawed relics of human evolution. He believes only a select few, the hyper-intelligent, should govern. Stern's ideology comes to full light when he finally meets Sam Wilson. Their first confrontation is verbal, not physical, a battle of ideals. Sam enters Stern's hidden lab, shield in hand, but Stearns welcomes him like an old friend. The dialogue between them is one of the film's most intellectually charged moments. Stearns: "You still believe in symbols, Mr. Wilson, but symbols are the language of the weak, a way for the fearful to explain what they can't understand." Sam: "And you believe you're above fear?" Stearns: "No, Captain. I've simply learned to weaponize it." This exchange encapsulates the philosophical divide between the two. Sam fights for human decency, flawed, emotional, unpredictable. Stearns fights for perfection, logical, sterile, absolute. In many ways, Stearns represents the danger of a society that prioritizes intelligence over humanity. He's the personification of the modern technocrat, brilliant enough to fix the world, arrogant enough to believe he should. What elevates the leader's characterization is how the film humanizes his madness. Through fragments of his past, we learn that his early experiments were motivated by genuine curiosity and compassion. He wanted to cure disease, end hunger, and optimize life. But when his intellect expanded beyond human comprehension, empathy became an obstacle. The movie draws parallels between Stearns and real-world figures, scientists and leaders who begin with noble intentions but lose their humanity in pursuit of efficiency. The tragedy of the leader lies in his brilliance. He understands everything except the human heart. His relationship with President Ross adds another layer of intrigue. The two men share a pragmatic alliance at the film's start. Ross provides funding and political cover. Stearns provides technology and intelligence, but their partnership quickly devolves into a power struggle. Ross wants control, to maintain order. Stearns wants transcendence, to eliminate chaos altogether. In one tense exchange, Stearns mocks Ross's militarism. Stearns, you can't control evolution, Thaddeus. You can only delay it. Ross, and you can't play God without burning the world down. Stearns, the world's already burning, I'm just building fireproof walls. This dialogue encapsulates their philosophical divergence. Ross believes in maintaining the system, Stearns believes in replacing it. Their inevitable fallout propels the story toward its explosive third act, where Stearns betrays Ross and hijacks Project Red Horizon for his own ends. Using the project's neural link technology, he creates a global network capable of influencing human cognition, effectively rewriting thought itself. The movie's depiction of the leader's power is both scientific and symbolic. Rather than telepathic mind control, Stearns uses advanced neurowave synchronization, enabling him to subtly influence decisions, emotions, and perceptions across populations. It's a terrifyingly realistic portrayal of how technology could evolve into a tool for mass manipulation. His monologue as he activates the system is unforgettable. Free will is chaos. Chaos breeds fear. Fear breeds war. I will give them peace, even if it means taking away their choices. This line cements him as one of the MCU's most chilling villains. Not because he wants destruction, but because he wants salvation on his own terms. The leader's downfall is poetic. In the film's climax, his neural network begins collapsing after Sam and Torres expose its central node. But rather than rage, Stearns experiences awe. As his system crumbles, he mutters, "So this is imperfection, and it's beautiful." In that final moment, he rediscovers a fragment of humanity, a realization that emotion, chaos, and unpredictability are what make existence meaningful. The moment is brief but profound, elevating him from a mere antagonist to a tragic figure undone by his own pursuit of godhood. Cinematically, his final sequence mirrors his intellect unraveling. The camera spins around him as lights flicker and data streams collapse into static. The score swells with discordant violins, symbolizing his mind fracturing between logic and emotion. He looks up at Sam and says almost softly, "You were right, Captain. Symbols do matter. They remind us we're still human." Then the screen fades to white as the facility implodes, marking his demise, or perhaps his transcendence. What makes the leader unforgettable in Brave New World is not his power, but his psychological realism. He embodies the dangers of unchecked intelligence, of progress without compassion. His intellect is his curse, isolating him from the very humanity he sought to improve. In many ways, he's a mirror to Sam Wilson. Both men driven by ideals, both seeking to make the world better, but through entirely different means. Sam represents faith in people. Stearns represents faith in perfection. Their conflict becomes a metaphor for the eternal struggle between heart and mind. By the film's end, the leader's influence lingers long after his death. His technology, his philosophies, and his warnings echo across the world. News reports hint that fragments of his neural system survived, leaving open the possibility of his consciousness persisting in digital form, a fitting legacy for a man who wanted to outthink mortality. In Captain America, Brave New World, the leader isn't just another villain. He's a cautionary tale. His story forces viewers to confront an uncomfortable truth, that intelligence without empathy leads not to enlightenment, but to extinction. At the heart of Captain America, Brave New World, 2025, lies a story not of war or politics, but of transformation. A deeply human evolution that turns Sam Wilson from a soldier following orders into a symbol, redefining what leadership means in the modern age. While the world around him collapses under corruption, power struggles, and manipulation, Sam's emotional journey becomes the film's true anchor. His struggle is not about winning battles. It's about finding faith in humanity again. Through every confrontation, betrayal, and moral dilemma, Brave New World forges a new Captain America, one not born from serum or science, but from conviction. From the first frame, the film establishes Sam's internal conflict. As Captain America, he's inherited Steve Rogers' shield, but not the universal acceptance that came with it. The world he now serves is cynical, fragmented, and burdened by distrust. Nations view the shield not as a symbol of hope, but as a relic of American power. Sam, standing in front of the world's skepticism, feels the weight of every star and stripe on his back. In one of the opening scenes, he's seen addressing a group of refugees displaced by international warfare. A child touches the shield and asks, "Does that make you their captain or ours?" The question pierces through Sam's carefully built resolve. It's a quiet moment, but it defines his emotional journey. Whose captain is he really? Unlike Steve, who was frozen in time and carried the idealism of the past, Sam represents the real world, one where moral clarity is rare and heroism is questioned. Brave New World beautifully captures this duality. It portrays Sam as a man torn between two roles, the idealistic hero the world expects and the flawed human he actually is. This tension becomes the foundation of his growth. Throughout the film, we witness him confronting not just physical enemies, but his own doubts, insecurities, and fears of inadequacy. One of the film's recurring motifs is mirrors, literal and metaphorical reflections that force Sam to confront his identity. In one early sequence, he stares at himself in the mirror while cleaning the shield, his reflection split by the metal's gleaming edge. The symbolism is subtle but profound. Two halves of the same man, the soldier trained to obey and the leader learning to inspire. The cinematography reinforces this theme throughout the movie, often framing Sam between shadows and light, between crowds and solitude, symbolizing his constant struggle to bridge personal belief with public duty. The emotional turning point comes in his interactions with Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten super soldier whose tragic history with the U.S. government embodies the darker side of American heroism. Isaiah's presence serves as Sam's conscience, reminding him that symbols can inspire but they can also deceive. In one emotionally charged scene, Sam visits Isaiah's home after learning about Project Red Horizon. The conversation that follows is one of the most powerful in the MCU. "Isaiah, you think wearing that shield makes you free? It makes you visible, a target for the same people who built the system to break men like me." Sam, "Maybe, but if I don't carry it, someone else will, someone who will use it to justify their power instead of protect people." This exchange encapsulates the film's emotional thesis. True leadership isn't about comfort or safety. It's about carrying the burden others can't. Isaiah's warning doesn't discourage Sam. It steels him. His journey ceases to be about proving himself worthy of Steve's legacy and becomes about redefining it. Another emotional dimension unfolds in Sam's relationship with Joaquin Torres, his protege and partner. Their dynamic mirrors Steve and Bucky's brotherhood, but with a generational twist. Joaquin represents youthful optimism, while Sam embodies cautious realism. In one beautifully written sequence, Torres questions why Sam continues to risk everything for a world that refuses to believe in heroes. Sam's reply, "Because belief starts somewhere, even if it's with one man and a broken shield," captures the essence of his faith-driven heroism. The film's screenwriters craft Sam's emotional journey with patience and empathy. Every setback becomes a lesson in resilience. Every betrayal, whether from the government, allies, or even the people he saves, strengthens his resolve. Unlike typical superheroes who draw strength from powers, Sam draws strength from purpose. His greatest weapon isn't the shield or his flight suit, but his ability to empathize and to see humanity even in his enemies. This compassion makes him both vulnerable and powerful. One of the film's most memorable sequences, and arguably its emotional centerpiece, occurs in the third act, when Sam, exhausted and bloodied, refuses to fight back against an enraged Ross. As Ross, consumed by paranoia, demands Sam to submit to his authority, Sam quietly drops his shield and says, "If standing down means the world finally listens, then fine, I'll stand down." The silence that follows is deafening. The camera lingers on Sam's battered face as soldiers lower their weapons, conflicted. It's a masterclass in restrained performance. A hero winning not through force but through moral defiance. This act of surrender becomes his greatest victory. By refusing to perpetuate violence, Sam dismantles the system's expectation of strength through domination. He transforms the symbol of Captain America from a weapon into a message. The shield, once a tool of war, becomes a reflection of peace, its dents and scratches representing the scars of moral endurance. The film also delves into Sam's internal struggle with faith, not necessarily religious, but faith in people, in community, and in progress. Raised in a working-class background and shaped by his time as a counselor for veterans, Sam's perspective on heroism is grounded in empathy. The screenplay smartly revisits his past, showing flashbacks of his days helping soldiers cope with trauma. These moments, juxtaposed with his present mission, remind viewers that Sam's real superpower has always been understanding pain. When he gives speeches or comforts civilians, it's not for applause. It's because he's lived the same fear, loss, and disillusionment they feel. One particularly poignant moment involves a scene with Layla Hassan, the UN diplomat who challenges Sam's idealism. When she accuses him of naivety, he replies, "Hope isn't naivety, it's courage in disguise." This simple line distills his entire transformation. Sam doesn't become Captain America because he believes the world is perfect. He becomes Captain America because he believes it can be. The emotional tone of Brave New World is further elevated by the film's score, composed by Henry Jackman, who previously scored The Winter Soldier and Civil War. His music evolves with Sam's character, beginning with somber brass and dissonant strings, symbolizing uncertainty and gradually transitioning to triumphant yet melancholic crescendos. By the film's end, the theme associated with Sam isn't purely heroic, it's soulful, blending gospel undertones with orchestral depth, a nod to his cultural roots and spiritual resilience. Symbolism plays a central role in his emotional evolution. The shield, once a patriotic emblem, transforms into something universal. In one late scene, after saving hundreds during the climactic disaster, Sam sets the shield on the ground and lets a young refugee pick it up. "It's not mine," he says. "It's everyone's." That single gesture redefines the meaning of Captain America for a new generation. The camera zooms in on the child's reflection in the shield's surface, a visual metaphor for the idea that heroism belongs to all people, not just one man or one nation. Thematically, the film draws parallels between Sam's transformation and the world's political awakening. Just as he learns to believe in humanity again, the people he inspires begin reclaiming their agency from corrupt systems. This shared growth gives the movie emotional weight beyond personal triumph. It becomes a collective rebirth. The closing scenes tie his arc together with grace. In the aftermath of the leader's defeat and the exposure of the Circle's corruption, Sam returns to Washington, D.C. for a quiet epilogue. Standing at the Lincoln Memorial, he places the damaged shield beside the reflecting pool and gazes at his own reflection. The symbolism is unmistakable. A man confronting not what he was, but what he's become. Behind him, ordinary citizens gather, holding handmade signs not of patriotism, but unity, for all of us. He turns to the crowd and delivers his final monologue, one that encapsulates the emotional essence of the film. The world doesn't need another savior. It needs people who still believe we can be better, even when everything says we can't. I'm not Captain America because I'm perfect. I'm Captain America because I haven't given up. As he walks away, the camera pans upward, showing the sun breaking through the clouds, a visual metaphor for renewal. The music swells softly, blending human voices with orchestral strings, symbolizing harmony between the individual and the collective. It's not a grand, explosive ending, but an intimate one, fitting for a character defined by empathy, not ego. By the end of Captain America, Brave New World, Sam Wilson's transformation feels earned, authentic, and profoundly human. He has evolved from a soldier carrying orders to a leader carrying hope. His emotional journey redefines what it means to be a hero in the modern age. Not a man of unshakable strength, but a man of unbreakable faith. Through doubt, pain, and perseverance, Sam becomes the symbol the world truly needs. A reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to rise above it. In Captain America, Brave New World 2025, the visual presentation, musical score, and emotional tone work together to create a cinematic experience that feels both deeply human and larger than life. Marvel Studios has elevated its storytelling craft over the years, but this film stands out as a fusion of grounded realism and epic superhero grandeur. Every frame, lighting choice, color palette, and sound cue contributes to the story of Sam Wilson's transformation into a leader who must redefine what Captain America means in a divided world. The visual design of the film immediately signals a shift from the glossy aesthetics of earlier Marvel entries to a grittier, more textured realism. The cinematographer embraces natural lighting and handheld camera movements during political and dialogue-heavy scenes to give the story a documentary-like authenticity. When Sam walks through chaotic city streets or sits across political leaders at tense summits, the camera lingers just long enough to capture the unease and tension of a world that has lost its balance. In contrast, the action sequences explode with sweeping crane shots and dynamic aerial choreography that showcase Sam's mastery of flight. His new Captain America suit, designed with a mix of vibranium and tactical gear, shines in these moments. Sleek, modern, and symbolic of balance between humanity and technology. The color palette throughout the film subtly mirrors Sam's internal journey. The beginning features colder blues and grays, echoing uncertainty and the burden of expectations placed upon him. As he grows into his role, warmer tones and golden hues start to dominate the visuals, symbolizing hope, courage, and renewal. The final act, particularly the Washington, D.C. confrontation, is bathed in light and shadow interplay, representing truth versus deception, transparency versus corruption. Each sequence is crafted with intent. The lighting serves as emotional punctuation to the script's moral message. One of the most striking achievements of Brave New World lies in its world-building through production design. Unlike the fantastical worlds of Wakanda or Asgard, this film immerses the audience in recognizable global settings, Geneva, Washington, and various conflict zones that mirror real-world tensions. The detailed set design of Ross's presidential command room, filled with holographic maps and classified files, contrasts sharply with Sam's modest safe house, where symbols of Steve Rogers' legacy coexist with Sam's own family photos. This visual contrast reinforces the film's central conflict: power versus principle, ambition versus humanity. The visual effects, VFX, are some of the most advanced Marvel has delivered, but what makes them truly powerful is restraint. Rather than overwhelming the viewer with endless CGI spectacles, the effects enhance realism. The flight sequences, for instance, combine practical stunts with subtle digital enhancements. You can feel the wind resistance, the weight of the shield, and the strain in Sam's movements, grounding the superhero in a sense of reality. Similarly, the explosion of Project Red Horizon's facility is choreographed not as a spectacle of destruction, but as a moment of tragedy and revelation. The visuals serve the story, not the other way around. Complementing these visuals is a musical score that captures the essence of legacy and transformation. Composer Henry Jackman, known for his work on The Winter Soldier and Civil War, returns with a reimagined theme for Sam Wilson. The score blends orchestral grandeur with rhythmic percussion and soulful undertones inspired by Sam's cultural roots. The main motif begins with a single trumpet, echoing Steve Rogers' heroism, but gradually layers in African-American gospel influences and modern electronic elements, symbolizing the merging of past and present. Each action scene is synchronized with musical cues that heighten emotion rather than overshadow it. One particularly memorable moment occurs when Sam delivers his global broadcast speech in the final act. The score begins with quiet piano notes, underscoring his vulnerability, before swelling into a triumphant orchestral arrangement as his words ignite hope worldwide. The music transforms the scene from a mere speech into a cinematic crescendo, the birth of a new Captain America theme for a new era. Beyond the score, Brave New World makes clever use of diegetic sound, the ambient noise within the world itself, to enhance emotional realism. The hum of drones in tense political meetings, the faint protest chants echoing through city streets, and the rhythmic beating of wings during flight sequences all serve as emotional anchors. Even silence is used effectively. During moments of moral reflection, the absence of music allows viewers to feel the full weight of Sam's decisions. The emotional tone of the movie is what truly sets it apart. This is not a film driven purely by adrenaline or spectacle. It's an introspective and morally charged story wrapped in superhero form. The tone oscillates between tension, hope, and redemption, In its quietest scenes, the film feels almost meditative, inviting audiences to reflect on the burden of leadership and the price of integrity. When Sam visits Isaiah Bradley, the scene is shot in soft light with a warm yet sorrowful undertone, accompanied by minimal background music. The emotional power lies in silence, expression, and dialogue, a hallmark of mature storytelling. The film also doesn't shy away from showing vulnerability. Sam's moments of doubt, questioning whether he deserves the shield, whether the world will accept him, are framed with intimacy. The camera stays close to his face, allowing viewers to feel the hesitation in his eyes. These scenes, paired with the empathetic score, make the audience experience his internal conflict as deeply as his external battles. By the time he rises again, his triumph feels earned, both emotionally and thematically. The tone of hope and unity builds gradually. Marvel cleverly integrates global perspectives through news broadcasts, international protests, and symbolic imagery. Children waving flags, soldiers lowering their weapons, civilians rebuilding cities. These montages serve as emotional punctuation marks, reminding viewers that Captain America's impact extends beyond heroics. It inspires everyday courage. The emotional crescendo is not one of victory over evil, but of moral awakening, the realization that truth and justice are collective responsibilities. In the closing scenes, the combination of visuals and music reaches its peak. The sky over Washington glows at sunset as Sam stands atop a government building, shield resting by his side. The camera pans slowly upward, following him as he watches the city lights flicker back to life. The score reprises his new theme, blending the traditional Captain America fanfare with soulful choral harmonies. The image fades to black, leaving behind a powerful sense of peace and purpose. It's not just a superhero finale. It's a cinematic hymn to resilience, unity, and hope. Ultimately, Captain America, Brave New World proves that visuals and sound are not mere accessories to storytelling. They are storytelling. The cinematography speaks the language of truth. The music echoes the heart of courage. And the emotional tone ties them all together into one cohesive symphony of meaning. Through these artistic choices, the film transcends its genre, delivering a story that feels both intimate and epic. It reminds the audience that even in a fractured world, beauty, harmony, and hope can still prevail, as long as there are heroes brave enough to fight for them.